Welcome to Monster Men.
Hit it, Jarrett!
Arg!
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, this is going to be a fun one. Jack and I are joined by my fellow horror stablemate at Dark Wolf Books, Jarret Keene, who he writes horror, he writes westerns, and he is a professor, not our first professor here, at UNLV, which is the alma mater of Guy Fieri, Mr.
Flavortown.
Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. So this episode is scratch made just for you. Welcome, Jarrett.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I feel honored to be here with you. I really enjoyed your Jaws episode. That was fantastic.
Oh, well, I got the expert over here.
Yeah.
I don't think
That was
anyone knows
like
more
me
about
talking for 3 hours and Hunter for 2
Okay.
minutes.
it. Okay.
It was delightful. What a movie. I mean, that screenplay is fantastic. It's just watching that movie, you learn how to write a screenplay, but I don't think enough people study it, and so they write bad screenplays.
That's very true. If you're going to write screenplays, read the best
Yes.
and just riff off that. But they'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure. That's my base.
Actually, a lot of contemporary horror reads like when you watch it, you're like, what's the inspiration here? And so I think you might be right. Bill and Ted's might be the inspiration.
We assume a lot of the inspiration is AI.
Yes. Well,
Some dude who's like on the payroll, and they go, well, we don't want to pay people to actually write interesting original stuff. So can you write us a sequel? Sure. Screenplay turns in 3 hours later. How'd you do it?
You talked about the novel, and I've always wanted to teach just a semester on Jaws, comparing the movie with Benchley's novel. Benchley's novel is almost like an altogether different story about adultery in Cape Cod or whatever.
Yeah.
And the mob, and it tells you, it's a great lesson in how to convert a novel into a screenplay. Yes. And what sells on the screen and what doesn't.
Yes.
I was just talking to a friend of mine about that. We were talking about the differences in Jaws to the movie from the book, and how the climax of the movie is way better in the movie. And then we compared it to Salem's Lot. We said that's also a book that the TV movie from '79 did a great job of mining the right stuff and changing the right stuff for a movie.
Yeah.
I agree, and in both those cases, I read the novel after the
Me too.
Adaptation, and I mean, it was just funny reading the novel in the '90s. I was like, this could be a John Updike novel.
It's true.
Englanders and their their horniness or whatever, and I just it was just so enjoyable to compare the two, and I want to teach a class like that eventually. Hopefully soon after I get tenure, I can do whatever and teach that Jaws from the water to the screen.
That's I'd take that class. I have a friend who's a teacher, and he teaches English and literature, but he also does a film studies class. And years ago, my group of idiot friends, we loved the movie The Swimmer with Burt Lancaster.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of, we looked at it at first as a comedy in the 90s. We thought, oh my God, this is so funny. But then I read the short story and watch it over and over again. He teaches that every year.
Oh, wow.
To high school seniors. But he teaches that, Planet of the Apes, Godzilla. He's doing the stuff he loves. But he goes, every time I do The Swimmer, thinking of you guys.
Well, Godzilla and Planet of the Apes, those are both novels. I guess even King Kong, if you think about it, was kind of a novel. But I just really love just reading a text and watching a movie and just kind of piecing it together, tracing how it works and why the filmmakers excise what they excise and add what they add. I think it's a lot of fun to do that.
Yeah. And, a lot of times those outtakes, when you get the Blu-ray or whatever, and you go, "Wow, those sucked." I can see why they kept them out.
You know who was good at like keeping it tight from page to screen was Crichton, Michael Crichton. I think. I don't feel like there's a lot of much difference between like say Jurassic Park, the novel, versus the movie, or Congo or whatever.
Yeah,
He's, he seems to have an eye for what it takes to get an adventure novel adapted.
he was so cinematic in the way he wrote.
Mm,
I loved him. I devoured everything he ever wrote.
yeah.
Um, I always felt like even I've read like this. He used to do like deep sea adventures and crime novels back in the day, and it's just they're movies in your head.
Hmm.
So he knew exactly. I mean, there's a couple of clunkers in there that I was like, all right, but you're learning, you're growing. But he is sorely missed, sorely
Well,
missed.
he's credited with like the techno thriller, but I do see him as a horror writer. To me, his most successful books are the ones that really lean into that genre more than anything else.
Yeah,
You know,
and you know what? There's no better example than the latest Jurassic Park movie that really, really needed him.
Spielberg made the shark movie and the dinosaur movie,
it's
and
great.
then none of the sequels from either of those could ever capture what made the original one great.
Well,
They just
he made the best truck killer movie.
truck one. He
Truck.
made the UFO movie. He made the alien movie.
By the way, he's making another UFO movie right now,
Oh wow.
which I cannot wait to see because he nailed Close Encounters.
Yes. Yes.
So I want to see what, you know, 40, oh my God, 50 years of disclosure and all this other stuff going on. I want to see what he comes up with.
Yeah. I
The
was
best
listening.
children, the best children's movie with ET, if you think about it.
Which I
Yeah.
didn't even like as a kid.
Yeah.
I was like, that alien is so stupid. But that's me. I grew up, I was cutting my teeth on like Last House on the Left in the 70s as like a 7-year-old. So
I liked ET, but I only really saw it once.
Yeah, but I think like you, Jack, you probably saw Alien before you saw ET. So
I
like
probably did.
when you watch ET, you're like, what?
totally.
I
Yes.
did hear something really interesting. Bill Simmons' podcast, the Rewatchables, they just did Jaws 2. And they were talking about it. And it came out in 1978. And they said, Halloween gets all the credit for being like this
Right.
trailblazer. But Jaws 2 was really like one of the first slasher movies because it came out before Halloween. And it's the shark is picking off all the teenagers one by one.
Yep.
Which I haven't seen Jaws 2 since the 80s.
Oh,
It's
wow.
the only one in their whole, catalog that I haven't rewatched multiple times. I got to watch it. It's on Peacock right now, so I'm like,
It was on TV the other day. I watched half of it.
Well, at the risk of getting ejected from this podcast, I like all the Jaws movies. I think they're even Jaws 4 or whatever, Jaws the Revenge. I watched it. I noticed it was on Netflix, and I sat down and half watched it while I did laundry or whatever. I just think they're all a lot of fun. There's something about that era of filmmaking that is irresistible.
I agree. By the way, after this, we're doing Final Guys,
Oh,
and our main feature is Jaws 4.
the best.
And so I watched it. I realized, Jack, I watched it last year. Because, like you go to watch it again, you like,
Yeah.
right at the end of credits, like, what the hell? Oh, that's right. I watched it last year. It's way better than the CGI crap
Yes.
that you see now.
Yes.
There's always a soft spot in my heart for Jaws 3D.
Mm.
I love 3D.
That
A
movie just
special
cracks
way.
me up. That the shark going through the glass window is the famous thing, but there's just something about, I don't know, maybe the time that came out, and it was a special place. But if that one's on, I'll just leave it on.
Well, it's set in Florida too, I think.
Yeah, SeaWorld.
Good old SeaWorld.
Makes it extra special good.
Where's Shamu? Gone. Was it William Shatner that's trying to free that last orca in like a French aquarium or something?
Yeah, they
Oh,
have
is
a
he?
word thing there. That is absolutely ridiculous.
It's horrible when you think about how smart they are. Like they're not just dumb animals.
Mm.
They're very intelligent.
I'm so angry.
As you'll learn in the movie Orca,
Yes.
which is factual, which I just rewatched this weekend.
Yeah, I have the novel here somewhere. It's a great read as well. I have
It
all
was
the novels.
it was a novel before it was a movie, right?
I thought it was by Arthur Herzog. That's how I remember it.
Yeah.
It was also
Really?
who I think is also credited with writing The Swarm. Which,
Oh, we might need to do an Arthur Herzog retrospective, Jack. Which
Oh.
everyone will go, what?
I know, right?
Who?
That'll get us some clicks.
Like total clickbait.
That's a seminar in the spring. The novels of Arthur Herzog.
But we will do like the Howard Stern show does, where you put a box with Sydney Sweeney in the corner,
Oh my
and then people just go. I've seen this is like he's got like they're culling all the old stuff, and they'll put like there's a picture of Artie Lang in full heroin addiction, but in the corner is like the hottest chick you can find, and I'll be like, man, that is so manipulative, but I'm hitting play anyway.
Yeah, I do like a lot of the scream queens of today, but the movies they appear in are often not as good as the queens themselves. So.
No, oh look, we got I Know What You Did Last Summer again.
It's funny because you're talking about all these books that were based, or movies that were based on books.
Mhm.
And I feel like as a kid, I read novelizations
Me too.
of movies a lot. And then what would happen is like, this is The Sting and Star Wars.
Who wrote the Star Wars one? I'm curious.
This says George Lucas.
No, but it was ghost written by I thought it was Alan Dean Foster or something.
Yeah, Alan Dean Foster wrote a lot of the other ones.
Yeah.
Splinter
if you go into
Eyes.
this one, Han shoots first in the book.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Controversy solved.
But what would happen is usually I could tell like Jaws versus Star Wars or something, or like I got Empire and Return of the Jedi up there. I had the Batman one. I could tell a novelization of a movie versus, oh, this movie was based on a book. That can't, like Jaws was not a novelization of the movie.
Right.
Whereas Batman.
Well, the novelization tries to follow the beats.
Yeah.
And they add a couple little things in there, but.
And when I was younger, I was more a fan of the novelization.
Oh yeah, well, it allowed you to savor the movie that you had watched, and it was only at best 2 hours long, and wanted to really learn the backstory of characters, get inside their heads, their perspectives. The novelization was always superior for that reason and necessary. But I was also a complete addict. I would buy the comic book adaptations.
Yes.
Oh, totally.
Top of the and that was a big disappointment as a horror fan, is that there weren't many. It felt like there were not many comic book adaptations of horror movies. It was always like the big tentpole mainstream productions like Star Trek or
Clash of the Titans.
Yeah. Yes, which I've got all of those here. I savored them, but I always wanted to see Marvel just do a whole series of, I don't know, Michael Myers or Jason stories.
That would be amazing.
I don't know why they didn't do that. I know the Comics Code Authority was still in place to a degree in the 80s, but it would have been wonderful to have had those, in addition to the
we're past that now. I'm a big I come and go with comic books, and since last summer I've been way back in. Marvel doesn't have anybody on the roster that could write that well enough. Yeah. DC might. Well, I'm a Marvel person through my Captain America shirt. But DC is much better right now, which it pains me to say, but it's true.
Yeah, you mean in terms of horror?
Of horror and just overall better writing, better everything.
Yeah.
They're nailing it. By the way, my favorite novelization, God. This is when I had diagnosed with astigmatism. I was wearing horrible glasses. I don't know. Well, I was getting my taint kicked in on a regular basis. Going in Style, the George Burns Art Carney movie.
Wow.
I read that book over and over again and refused to leave it home because I wanted people to kick the crap out of me. but I loved it.
I've never
Love
seen
that
it, but
movie.
I'm intrigued. So
Three old guys robbing a bank so they can leave something for their family when they pass the mortal coil. It's such a good book. I showed it to my wife last year for the first time, and she wept
mm,
uncontrollably. Well, she'll do that anyway for anything, but this was. She looked at me. She says, "Why did you show me this movie? You're such a jerk."
yeah, yeah.
I had that Clash of the Titans novelization. Oh, God, I loved that.
I had the comic.
Well, again,
Ah,
that the Clash of the Titans hit me like a horror movie. It was very grotesque, gruesome for its time, and oddly titillating. It was I was became sort of obsessed with it, and it really
Oh,
captured the horrific aspects of Greek mythology or whatever. And it's the scorpion scenes are just
yeah.
unbelievable. The stop
yeah.
motion was eerie. It didn't look real, but it looked almost
Calibus, that he's a terrifying guy.
it looked glitched, like a glitched nightmare. That stop motion
And the best Medusa that'll ever be.
ever.
Yeah, by far.
What a great, in some ways, a great horror movie. And then, of course, going to the public library when we were young, that was a totally different experience, but than compared to today. But when I would pick up a new Stephen King collection or novel, that was always a treat. And knowing that I was reading something that would eventually be, I mean, I knew it as a kid, like they're going to make a movie out of this.
Yeah. And boy, did they ever. They're still doing it.
You'd read a short story and you'd be like, it's just a short story, but I know they're going to make a movie out of it, and they always did. It was crazy.
Yeah. And it
Well,
will never stop.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately,
It's crazy.
when Hunter told me about our conversation with you and the subject matter and some of the author names that were being thrown around, I was like, oh, I'm not going to know any of this. So I was talking to a friend of mine today about horror literature and older stuff. And so I said, I think my contribution to this conversation is going to be, well, I'd read Dracula when I was a kid,
yeah,
and I'm very aware of Varney the Vampire and the Penny Dreadfuls,
yeah.
but I never read them. So you go back that far? You a Varney the Vampire guy?
No, but
Yeah. Oh, whew. All
I,
right.
Carmilla. What a great
Mm.
novel. Early,
All those Karsteins.
yeah, great early vampire novel, and the Bram Stoker's Dracula isn't so wonderful as a novel unless you consider its impact, its influence, and how it just went on to basically shape so much of modern horror. It's I would love to teach just a section of Frankenstein, Dracula, and then mix it in with some of those literary classics like Moby Dick, which is to my mind a giant monster movie or a kaiju
Yeah.
film. Um, or even the short story like The Open Boat by Stephen Crane, which is about a group of shipwreck survivors slowly drowning and getting eaten by sharks uh,
Mm.
Love that.
for 15 pages.
It's 15 pages. Come on. You can endure it.
Or the stories of Ambrose Bierce, those gruesome tales of war and horror. I mean, people call Turn of the Screw a ghost story, and I think it is to a degree, but it's also in its own way kind of a I don't know, like a highbrow tale of being haunted by the past and family. I just think that's and I always am surprised that if I take a piece of contemporary writing and just like slightly reconsider it, it
Hmm.
becomes like a horror story. Becomes a tale of the supernatural or vampirism or parasitism.
Yeah.
I'm always intrigued by that. So I don't know. I just really love uh, bringing Dracula early into the semester, introducing it and saying, if you look at some of these other works, you'll see that every great author to a degree is influenced by Shelley, by Stoker, by
Mhm.
Melville, and Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, like really, our first great American author is, to my mind, a horror writer, detective author. It's kind of interesting to look at so-called literary fiction through the genre lens.
What do a modern student, and this is 2025, what's the feedback from them when you have them read something like that?
Well, it's interesting you say that. I did a guest column for Writer's Digest magazine last week on what students today are really drawn to, and they're not really as interested in these things, themes that you and I maybe were intrigued by. They're really into like things like identity and gender and memory, and being othered and being singled out and being um, labeled a monster,
Mhm.
and being or transformed into something they don't want to be uh, created into. Uh, and so I think that it accounts for why so many of my students are drawn to authors like Stephen Graham Jones. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if you're familiar, or Sylvia Moreno Garcia, who wrote Silver Nitrate.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen this book around or read
I
it.
haven't read it, but it's on my list of things to buy and check out.
So my students are very interested in this other style of horror that you can see kind of creeping into filmmaking today with this new generation of filmmakers. Um, and it's not to my taste, but I can't ignore it. I have to read it,
No,
discuss it.
it's the
Take
present and the future.
yeah, and
It's
it's
look, even in the 70s when I was reading Poe and Lovecraft,
yeah, Lovecraft.
as a child, maybe too young to read that stuff. And then again in the 80s, it was a slog. Some of those things, like, oh God.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know anybody who says, yeah, I reread Dracula over and over again for shits and giggles. No.
I read Dracula when I was in sixth grade, and in the 70s, Dracula was everywhere. There
yeah,
was Dracula movies, there was Dracula TV shows,
hmm
everything, and it was not as saturated as it is now, and not as, I don't know, parodied.
It
right.
Um,
seemed forbidden, which drew you to it as a
Yes,
kid.
yes,
um,
and we were starving for stimulation, so we would sit there and read a 19th century, Victorian
Yeah.
novel about vampires and sexy things, despite the Victorian prose that kind of pushed us away because we were hungry for something
I
evil.
had to fight my way through that book as a sixth grader because I'm
It's
like,
tough.
this is, where's the stakes? Where's the crosses?
Yeah,
And finally, oh, there's one. Okay.
hmm
It was no
Uh,
going in style. I get it.
yeah.
But by the way, what's the who wrote? Is it "You Come When I Call You"? Oh,
I don't know.
it's a great short story. Oh man, this is terrible. Well, this is 57, boys and girls. This is what happens. The brain starts to go. Maybe you shouldn't drink so much in your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, early 50s, and then you'll retain more.
this
But
afternoon.
that's a great horror story that will actually still scare you today. And The Lodger,
Oh yeah, yeah,
that's a fantastic,
yeah.
um, and that you can call that a horror story. So there's great stuff out there, but I think 50 years from now, it's gone.
Yeah, I agree.
We're not reading stuff from the 1700s
Mm, no.
and all this stuff in the 1800s, early 1900s. It's going to be gone,
Well, what's
except
going to
for a few
remain is
people.
the IP. So Frankenstein and Dracula and that stuff is going to remain because it's an IP. But there's going to be the few and far between who are like, have you ever gone? Did you realize Dracula is based on a book?
Yeah, or I think the Cthulhu mythos will live on, but Lovecraft himself will be utterly canceled or unremembered. Um, and I think Stephen King, some of his IPs will live on. Um, but I think
Yeah,
this idea that we're going to be studying, doing close readings of of Shelley and Stoker and Poe and all that. I don't know. I don't see how it can continue. I think people are gonna come to literature with other needs and other wants and other considerations, and I think they're going to be very alien to us even now. Like I think we see like a glimmer of maybe what's to come, but we're going to have to wait and see. Everything's going to speed up, I think, in the next decade.
Yeah, I agree. Look, hopefully, when we're dead, they'll be reading Hunter Shea and Jarret Keene, and our ghosts will be going, "That's not what I meant."
Well,
Like, I wonder how many like authors, if you could bring them back from the dead, go, dude, you got it so wrong.
yeah,
I was just trying to make a buck. There's no deep thought in this. Like, I've seen interpretations of stuff that I've written now, and I'm like, where the hell did you get that? But
yeah.
if you enjoy that, that's your story. So
But I
Well,
think
enjoy.
Tarantino was talking about his movies and stuff. And they were like, "Why did you call it Reservoir Dogs?" And he goes, "Well, besides the fact that it sounds like a good title and sort of felt the vibe," he goes, "but I don't want to. I know why, but I'm not going to tell you.
right,
And I
right,
love hearing people's theories on it. And same thing with
Hmm.
like what's in the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. He goes,
Yeah,
"You tell me what you think is in there, and it belongs to you." You know, and then
yeah,
uh, it keeps the conversation going.
absolutely. I think, and Tarantino is so interesting because he comes to filmmaking with I don't know what to call it, but a vintage retro historical sensibility, and he managed to make it so appealing to our generation, and like I think even maybe the millennials to a degree. Um, but that's hard to do. It's hard to I don't know how you feel about it. Well, I know I have my theories about you as a writer, Hunter, but I think you might be like
oh,
in the sense we come to horror, we're trying to tap into something that's gone. Like we're trying to we come with that retro nostalgic vintage aesthetic. We want to I mean, you remember the spontaneous combustion VHS movie and Blockbuster. I mean,
yeah.
that and then I rented it like two or three times, watched it. I was intrigued by all of that, and I I want to write my own someday spontaneous combustion story or novel, but and I want
Hmm.
to because I want to tap into that sensation, that feeling that I had as a kid. I come to horror for very different reasons than my students. I'm trying to get high again. I'm trying to hit that pleasure level that I haven't quite scratched again yet. I'm trying to reach that height, and I can't quite get there. So I'm writing these stories and these novels that pay homage to movies like Labyrinth or Empire
Hmm.
Strikes Back or Jaws 4 or Jaws the Revenge. I'm trying to. That's why I go to horror. That's why I write these stories. I want them to be appealing to my students, but it's hard to do. It's the generational gap feels so severe because you and I grew up watching Boomer Entertainment, so we could always relate to a degree to the Boomers,
Hmm.
and there wasn't that chasm I feel like there is now between, say, Gen X and
Oh, completely. Like, look, you're on a show called The Monster Men. Jack and I grew up monster kids.
right.
I like to think when Guy N. Smith passed away, part of his soul just went into the top of my head, and he's like, just write fun stuff, fun
Mhm.
monster stuff. So I am definitely I'm writing what I liked as a kid, a combination of the monsters and the real life, well, if they are or not, cryptid stuff. So I love doing that stuff and just having monster romps.
Yes,
And sometimes the monster's the bad guy, sometimes he's the good guy, like in the
but
Universal monsters.
they weren't always just a romp though, because that Boomer Entertainment was actually made by World War II veterans. So
Yeah,
the veterans were making the stuff that was processing all their trauma, like Jack Kirby and others,
yeah,
and they passed that along to Stephen King or whatever. And Stephen King, his generation was dealing with Vietnam and the fear and anxiety of that conflict.
and the
Uh,
Cold War.
yeah, the Cold War. Any moment you're going to be, annihilated by atomic weapons. which you and I are familiar with. And then so there was like a thread that ran through all of that to reach us, you know.
Yeah.
And then we, I think, writers like you and I are trying to like pay homage and continue that tradition, and I don't think anyone after us is really into that.
No, look, I know when I go out and I'm doing book signings and stuff, I don't get many kids.
Mm,
Oh, I love that. And my own kids, like when I tell them, at school we would hear the air raid siren,
yeah,
which is foreign to them, and have to stop and drop under our desks. So, as George Carlin would say, we leave a nice little pile of ash when everything's dropped, when the bombs drop, and
tiny.
like, and nobody shielded us from that fear either.
Mm,
It was instilled in us and our teachers and the general public and our parents. Whereas nowadays they can just hook into a YouTube channel where they watch, somebody brushing their teeth and eating bad food or whatever, and they never need to know anything that goes on outside of that narrow channel, and they don't.
yeah,
Which is crazy.
the serial killers that we grew up knowing about and watching TV shows about and news segments about. I mean, that was it was just a very different time, and that I think that explains the appeal of Stranger Things. And I do think my students get Stranger Things. I think that is
Hmm.
they dig the nostalgia of that or the vibe of that. So that's one maybe point of connection. But and it's very literary in its own way. You know, Stranger Things it refers a lot to texts and to textual um, works, and
Right.
everything from Dungeons and Dragons to Stephen King to Lovecraft to I don't know what would you call paranormal literature or whatever you want to call
Yeah. Dude, speaking of serial killers, I lived in the town where the David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, was.
it. Hmm.
And I remember that there was a word out that they think there was a VW bug involved. So when we would play wiffle ball or stickball in the street, we would always have a guy on the corner who didn't get to play, and it was usually someone younger, but his job was to look out for VW bugs. And he would shout, "Bug!" And we would drop the bat and balls and run into our yards until the bug passed by.
Yeah.
And they would pass by, you go back in. So we were actually terrified, even though none of us were, hot brunette girls in cars. Didn't matter. We were worried about a serial killer coming through our street,
Yeah.
which, my kids now, we live in a gated community where there hasn't been a crime probably in 30 years. And they freak out when they're home alone.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing to freak out about. We're the mountains here.
Hmm. I think too. You know, as a writer, like I'm always trying to pay tribute to what came before, but I do enjoy like upping the or raising the stakes or adding another level of danger or complexity with this story collection. The book kicks off with that yellow fever epidemic. Yeah, that one.
There we go, right there.
That yellow fever epidemic in 1850s New Orleans. And I, I just was intrigued by the research that went into the. I just picked up a book about the yellow fever epidemic during that time, and then somehow it made me think of that movie Jezebel, which is set in New Orleans and all that has the
Yeah.
epidemic raging through the city, and I started digging into like the pharmacy museum of there and on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and it made me just really eager to write about a serial killer rampaging through a yellow fever epidemic
It's a great idea.
in crepuscular twilight New Orleans, and um, that was a hell of a lot of fun. And I started thinking like, why don't we need to see more? And so I guess what I'm saying is like I'm trying to write like mini movies with this
Hmm.
annihilation. Like each story to me is like what do you call it? Like a flip book for a like a movie producer to consider. Not because I want to really actually make movies. That's not really it. What I'm saying is I'm trying to write stories that will maybe inspire someone to think cinematically.
Yeah.
Enjoy literature as I'm trying to be as visual as I can within the most primitive technology.
Well, it seems like if you're an author, you have to be cinematic because you were saying before about like when we were kids, there was less options for entertainment. So we were more patient. Like I would sit and read Dracula. I would watch older things
We'd
because
watch anything, right?
whatever was on TV. So, I'm watching, you know, stuff that my parents knew,
Milton Berle, the Texaco Star
whatever.
Theater, like whatever you could get your hands on.
We watched it.
But now, like with streaming, especially like if they don't like something in 5 minutes, they just turn it off and go to something else. Or as Hunter, you were saying, they're just in their lane and like I don't watch anything except SpongeBob or whatever. They're
Yeah.
not they're not getting exposed like we did when they're just surfing channels and I came across Without Warning on TV or like, what's this? But with books, especially, I mean, I don't know how much younger people read these days, but like to sit down and read Salem's Lot now, you have to like
Never
I
happened.
would imagine your publishers like when they're reading things, they're like there must be like beats you have to hit. Like if something doesn't happen by page 20, this is
Sa-
gone. Like,
Salem's Lot would cost Stephen King his career
Oh,
if he was trying to get it published now.
oh yeah. Well, there's a whole thing. I mean, and I talk about this in my class. Stephen King's Carrie, from my understanding, the research that I've done into its, writing and production, it was a book that was circulating as a manuscript amidst the women literary agents and community of New York City. This thing, it was in some ways, a kind of radical feminist horror story,
Mm-hmm.
which I never thought of as a young person. When I was 10 years old, I just read it because it was wild and crazy and
Yeah.
gruesome and terrifying. It's really a book about bullying, but in any case, the women of the New York literary scene pushed this book to the fore, and got him noticed.
Which
And
is crazy.
it's crazy. I mean, and no, what's that famous internet statement? Nobody talks about it.
The
Nobody
man
talks
who
about
was
it.
publishing stories in Gent and Jugs magazine
Yes, and then
gets picked by the feminist movement
I mean,
over a novel.
I don't think I'm overstating that. I mean, from what I've read, it was, and of course, there's the story of his wife rescuing the manuscript from the
Yes.
trash, and in every instance, it was like he was rescued. His literary efforts were rescued and promoted by 70s feminists. And yeah, I don't think if his first novel had been Salem's Lot, that it would have launched him in the way that Carrie did, or Firestarter, which came after, which was another
Yeah.
young.
all those books back then, people had the patience to read.
Yes.
Whereas if you
Now
hand
they
that to a
don't.
kid and they're just reading for fun, I don't know. First of all, are they too thick? I mean, a lot of people seem to read it, but
Yeah,
um,
but think about Carrie, how short it really is. It has all that meta textual stuff like newspaper clippings, radio transcripts, interviews.
Yep.
It's a padded novel. Really, it's a short story that uh, his wife encouraged him to pad with these different tricks. Not tricks, but what do you call? Yeah,
Killer filler.
yeah, yes, and it's brilliant. It actually makes the book work, and it's not. I mean, it is filler, but it actually does a lot to give you as my students, it enhances the vibe, the atmosphere of Carrie. So when it gets to that pig's blood scene at the end, it hits like a bomb.
Yeah.
now you got me wondering how many kids are actually reading Watchmen, or
Yeah,
because we've got all the movies and stuff and spin-offs. Like that is a mountain or a bear of
yeah.
a book.
Mhm.
You know, you got to
But
read it.
my
Takes time.
yeah, my students. I taught it last semester in my comics class, and I had a student tell me what a misery fest this is. Because it, it was so relentlessly depressing, and I kind of had to agree. Like, yeah, I can kind of see that now.
Yeah, but life
Yeah,
isn't always rainbows coming out your asshole.
Exactly, but that was part of the '80s like comic scene that Alan Moore helped redefine with his deconstructive comics writing. And of course, he always had great artists. People
Oh,
artists wanted to beg to work with Alan Moore because he was just so unusual and so groundbreaking.
by the way, DC has done something very right where they are republishing like their best story arcs. Watchmen is one of them, but they're republishing them as compact comics. So this is Batman's Hush, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But they're the size of manga
Hmm.
or manga. I don't know how everyone has their way of saying it. This is grabbing, and they're $10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super cheap, super portable, and they're giving you the best that they've ever done. And it is selling. It is millions of copies are flying off the shelves.
Well, yeah, I hope so because that's the at that price point you want to reach out to kids who don't have much money and want to they want to get a toehold into that world of
Yeah.
comics. $10.
By the way, Marvel goes, what we're going to do is make it a little bigger, give stories that aren't as good, and charge $15.
Hmm. Hmm.
And those things are sitting on shelves. Where I am not a DC person, I bought 3 of these things since I read Hush, and I want them on my shelf because they look so good on there too.
Hunter, when you get a chance, I want you to read Comic Book Hell, which is in this Gateways to Annihilation collection. It's about a comics collector of the obscure, and so he's
Oh boy.
just, with going from convention to comic shop in the most remote places of the world. Sorry, of the United States during the '90s. Pre-internet, and
Yeah.
finding all these highly obscure, like horse breeding primer comics and things like that.
I was going to say, there was one I loved that so many people don't even remember. Plop.
Yes,
Plop was like I don't know, like Mad Magazine on acid or something. It was
but
so weird.
Oh yeah.
but I was starving. I would read the Christian comics. Like the Gospel Blimp and things like that by Spire Comics Company.
Oh
Oh
wow.
wow. We didn't.
And
Yeah, I didn't get those.
yeah, that I'd find them occasionally in the secondhand, used bookstores, and I'd scoop them up, and it didn't matter, and I would recognize the art as being done by DC and Marvel artists who are
Mhm.
moonlighting as Christian comics.
That's
Create-
crazy.
and the
Wow.
best were not the adaptations of the Bible; those were kind of boring. But
Yeah.
when they created their own, like original storylines or characters, those to me were very interesting and kind of creepy, because they were like you were entering a world that that was highly theological and with a lot of rules, and they were trying to be cool and try to present
Oh my god. I
stories that
see.
trying to reach the young people via comics.
I went to Catholic school
Yeah, yeah,
all my life.
yeah,
The last thing I wanted to read was anything really.
yeah.
So, like, I cut my teeth on like Hot Stuff and Sad Sack, like the Harvey comics were like probably the first.
Sure.
And then I moved to Marvel really quick because every Wednesday, because I went to Catholic school, we got out early so the heathen public school kids could get religious education for the afternoon. So I would go to my grandparents every Wednesday. Grandma would feed us lunch, and then Grandpa would walk me around the corner to the comic book, well, like the stationery shop, and I could get 4 comics for $1 because they were 20. Oh God, they were probably less than 25 cents.
Mhm.
And that's how I became like a total comic book fiend. Like Dad made me a monster movie horror fiend. Grandpa made me a comic fiend. Um, and yeah, anything I could get my hands on, I was reading, but I would not read a Christian comic if you threatened death at the time. I did read like the classics. Remember they do like the Odyssey and stuff like that. I
Classics.
would read those.
Yeah,
Um, but
those
yeah,
were
no.
those were very tough. Marvel had its own classics comics line, and I read the hell out of those.
Ivanhoe.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what Ivanhoe was. I didn't, I knew I was never going to read it, but I read the comic.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I wonder if they ever did Don Quixote.
Yes, they did.
They did.
Yeah.
Boy, I took that book on like 10 years ago. I said, I'm ready. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I hated myself. I hated the world while I read that book.
But it's that thing where like seeing a visual representation of something challenging like that is very helpful.
Yeah.
The illustrated picture Bibles, illustrated Greek mythology. It helped me visualize all the stuff that I was studying in school. I went to an Episcopal day school, so it was like Catholic light.
Oh yeah, Episcopalians are the best. I should have hooked on to them early.
Although I was caned, I would think I was the last kid to be caned.
Oh wow!
Oh, I was punched and all kinds of other things. So there we go. I might have taken a caning
by the teachers. I mean, not by the students.
Oh, I was punched by the teachers.
Oh yeah, by the teachers.
Oh yeah, they would kick the living shit out of you, and then you go home and you tell your father, Mister Sedicase smashed a locker against my head 4 times until I was dizzy, and my father would hit me. Well, what did you do to make him so mad?
Yeah, what did you do wrong, right?
Yeah. And then my mother wouldn't feed me. There we go. So then I would take my beatings silently.
Starving.
Yeah. And then I wouldn't even tell them about the beatings from the other guys.
Right.
Because what's the point of that? They would just tell you, well, stop being such a wussy and go hit them. But I knew when you hit them, they just hit you harder the next day.
Yeah.
But here's a PSA for all you kids out there. You punch the bully in the face, he's coming for you. He's not going away.
Yeah, that whole advice about just stand up to a bully, I was like, the guy is twice my size, and if I swing back, he's just going to demolish me more.
Yeah. I befriended my bully.
Yeah, that's a cliche you see in a lot of contemporary writing. You just got to punch the bully, right? Right in the mouth, right away, and it's like,
yeah,
I can tell this writer has never
let the right one in. Handled that the best.
I wish I had a little vampire.
When he whacks the kid with the rod and he cuts his ear, then you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, you punch him in the face, they're punching you in the balls.
Right.
And they're just going to leave you gasping for air. For you kids who think bullying with a comment on Facebook is rough, imagine everybody bullying you everywhere you went.
Well, I do think that's why Carrie by Stephen King has survived and endured so long, so well for that reason. But yeah, in some ways, it's really not even a horror novel. It's something else, despite the paranormal build up there and Carrie's powers. That kind of made it very interesting, I think, for especially as I was saying, readers in New York, those professional literary community.
Yeah,
they really dug it for that reason, because it was working on a couple of different levels.
Nowadays, you just come back to the prom with a gun.
Yep.
Say, hey, you sons of bitches, you enjoy me plugging that up?
With your wide-spanning knowledge of horror literature, I felt like I would read horror and enjoy it for the action or the cinematic value of whatever was going on. But very rarely did it scare me until I read my first Stephen King book was Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I read something and was like, oh, this is creepy. Like,
yeah.
What are some over the, you can go back to Varney the Vampire days or today. What are like some genuinely scary books?
Well, this is going to sound
If you say Carrie one more time, I'm coming out.
No. But I do think that, this is what I do agree with my students with. Like, it's very hard for me to be scared, but I am very easily chilled. I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
yes,
it totally makes sense.
I don't like the hair on the back of my neck standing up. That's the feeling I go for when I'm looking for horror. And the stories that have done that for me have always been kind of like schlocky books that were designed just for that reason alone.
Right.
Um, I've watched the worst horror movies growing up, and not the worst horror movies, but I'm saying they would not be considered very highbrow or academic in any shape or form. But when I watched, I'm going back to film, but Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead,
That movie solidified Jack and I
it chilled me.
as true horror fans. That scared the crap out of me.
And even a novel like I don't know if it was called Apt Pupil, but the
Oh
novella.
yeah.
Oh yeah. By the
Uh,
way, that movie, my daughter, when she was a baby, we would watch. My wife and I are both horror maniacs, so we would watch everything, and she'd just lay there on the floor. She became aware watching that movie when the cat went in the microwave.
mm, yeah,
She screamed
yeah,
and cried, and I was like, "Oh, we can't watch this stuff in front of her anymore."
yeah. She's paying attention.
Yeah,
Apt baby.
yeah. She didn't watch horror again for years. Now she'll watch everything. She's 27. But I
So,
thought my sister can't watch horror because of what my dad subjected us to.
oh yeah,
So it made a career for me. It made her
yeah,
freaked out about it even in her 50s.
yeah.
Funny.
Well, when I was reading Ambrose Bierce and Poe, I was never chilled or scared. To me, that stuff is more about the mechanics of writing, or the pioneering techniques that they introduce.
Mm-hmm.
I never, I rarely read something, especially in you know, 20th century American literature, that really does that for me. Dracula doesn't work that way. Dracula's not scary to me. Frankenstein
No.
scary to me, and I'm always confused by why it's even labeled horror. To me, I don't even know. It's like just gothic fantasy or something.
Mm.
Um, and so I've always been blown away by stuff that is a little bit schlocky, like Peter Benchley's Jaws, when the guy dies there, is eaten by the shark. Not Richard Dreyfuss's character in
Hooper.
the novel is eaten by the shark. I was like, whoa, that was terrifying and scarring. And so Pet Cemetery.
Oh, that's one of his best.
And then, but King, of course, is hit or miss, because then he'll do Cujo, which didn't do anything for me. The book, I mean, and Christine. Everything was demon possessed for a while. I think he was in a rut.
Yeah. Well, it's all the cocaine and tall boys.
Sure. Well, again, Watchmen chilled me. Swamp Thing by Alan Moore.
Oh, so good.
His Jack the Ripper comic book was,
Oh, From Hell.
yeah, it was absolutely frightening. But again, it's not. It's just the hair standing on the back of it. I haven't been terrified to the degree that I was as a child, by anything that I read or watch. I think that's why I'm writing horror and writing different kinds of stories. Some stories are humorous,
Mm-hmm.
horror comedy. Like I don't know if you've seen these films. I should have looked deeper into the list, but Chopping Mall.
Love Chopping Mall.
Barbara Crampton.
Barbara Crampton, baby.
And even Death Spa, like
I love Death Spa.
they're funny, and they're kind of gross, and kind of they exude life and energy and cleverness and wit.
And then nostalgic for me.
Yeah,
Like that's the me and my wife, who was my girlfriend in the 80s, renting a lot of movies from the video store and just binging all these bad horror movies that now we think, oh God, they seem Death Spa, people laugh at. It's so much better than a lot of the crap that comes out now.
yes, and I think John Sayles is. He would never take credit for this, but I think he's probably the best 20th century horror screenwriter that we've ever had. With I find to be very successful. The Howling, Piranha.
Yep.
Well, just those two movies alone.
Yeah, that's enough to get you in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they're very different. Like The Howling is kind of funny in parts, but The Howling, if you're the right age for it, it can mark you. You know, it's really
The Howling is like a love letter to horror. When you see Forrest Ackerman show up in the movie,
yes.
it's like, oh, but who else is going to know that? Like, I'm the last generation. We're the last generation that's even going to know who that is.
Well, you and I knew who Forrest Ackerman was as we're watching the film because you and I were reading Fangoria or.
Famous monsters of Filmland, baby.
But you know, he would appear in other horror publications in the '80s, like because he was a legend, he was an icon in the field. Well,
Yeah.
as well, and Jack Nicholson, Vincent Price. These were iconic horror people, and I've never seen a Vincent Price movie and been scared, but I still
No.
watched them.
Yeah, if you want to be amused as hell, watch the Dr. Phibes movies, the two movies for Dr. Phibes. Those are
Yeah.
my favorite Vincent Price movies.
Jarrett, there's a book. John Carpenter's Vampires is based on a book by John Stakely called
Yeah.
Vampires with a $. Did you read that?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Man. So that book, I read that. I was in Harvard Square, the Coop it's called. It was the like Harvard bookstore, and I just saw it, bought it, and that is like a popcorn movie novel. A lot of fun. Yeah. There's scenes in that book like where they go down into the prison.
Yeah.
That was like genuinely like I was like, holy crap! I can't believe they're going down there.
That's what I mean. That's like those are the kind of books that always chilled me, and those are the books that my professors, my college professors, high school professors, they didn't know anything about. They didn't want they go to literature for that visceral thrill. Which is not to say that American literature, as taught in universities and so on, it doesn't offer visceral thrills. I mean, Jack London, Hemingway, they're as visceral as you can get. But yeah. Those kinds of books, like Vampires, $, is like kind of like that dream paperback that you're still looking for. You're still sifting through these.
Absolutely. He didn't write much after that, if anything.
No, and it's so frustrating, especially when you consider its impact. I mean, Carpenter clearly loved it. And it's also interesting, too, to look back at those old books and remember the circumstances in which they were written, which is tight deadline.
Yeah.
They know they're not going to be remembered for anything that they're.
You got 6 months, buddy. I live under those deadlines. My favorite was a 3-month deadline to write what had to be a 95,000 word book. 3 months to write it and edit it and have it ready to go.
Well, David Strow, who wrote the Crow screenplay, Scrow, am I saying his name right? The guy that wrote the Crow play. He would talk about like writing a novel over the weekend.
Yeah. I have an editor who he sat in a room with 5 other guys, each had a typewriter. This is the 70s.
Yeah.
They would write erotica novels. Yeah. They had to write a novel a week.
Man.
So they would just all sit in the room smoking, just typing away. And then after the week was done on Monday, it'd be like, well, did you write about lesbians? I did. All right, I'm going to do lesbians now. And then they would trade off different fetishes and stuff. And every week they pumped out a novel. And I asked him once, I said, and he wrote at least 100 of them. I said, do you have any of them? He goes, they were printed so cheaply.
Yeah.
They all just fell apart and they're just trash. There's nothing really that exists anymore, which is kind of sad. All that work that you did, it's gone.
But some of I can't speak for the erotica novels, but
yet
I will say that some of these '80s mass paperback horror fests, books, they, they're not something that's going to endure. But when you find them, when you encounter them, and you read them, and you're blown away by it, you're like, how did this not become just a huge hit? Why are people not talking about it? That is one of the most frustrating aspects of being a bibliophile, a genre bibliophile.
Yeah.
Is that you just really understand like how difficult it is to land a successful book. And so much of what we read in our college textbooks, our university literary anthologies, they are only exist because of the most arbitrary reasons. Like I talk to the editors of these textbooks, and they say, well, we only incorporated these works because we had the copyright for them, or we didn't need to pay the translator, or it's always these like arbitrary reasons that I'm like, what? I'm like, this is really what it's coming. And then there's guys like I feel like I'm jumping around a little bit, but Tolkien, my understanding is that the only reason we read Beowulf today is because Tolkien was a big champion of that text and got his
Really?
doctoral students really stoked about reading it and translating it. And he had like 5 or 6 grad students, and they graduated, matriculated. They went to different colleges and universities for tenure track positions, and they started teaching Beowulf. And their doctoral students, 5 or 6 of them, got jobs and started teaching Beowulf.
So he's the root of the tree.
Yes, for Beowulf. For Beowulf. And it's kind of cool, but it's also like, well, if he had died in World War II, or sorry, World War One, or if he had just car wreck, whatever, if he had perished, we would not be reading Beowulf.
It's crazy.
So
this could happen to The Swimmer, the movie. If my friend, people he teaches go, oh, I can only hope that The Swimmer lives on forever. By the way,
I think about this. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I think about this all the time. When I have graduate students who are looking to become professors, I do everything I can to kind of encourage them and push them in a genre direction, because I do think some of these works are fantastic and worth preserving.
You're absolutely right. I want to get your book, Gateways to Annihilation, short story collection by Mr. Jarret Keene, out with Dark Wolf Books. By the way, I think we're 1 and 2, right? First to come out of the chute for Dark Wolf.
You and I, you were the first, and I followed right behind.
So guess what, buddy? With every horror line I start, you're stuck with me forever because I never let these people go.
I don't mind.
Tell us about the book.
14 stories. What I would call, I call it a horror collection, but in some ways it's really, in many ways, it's just dark fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I would only characterize maybe the first 4th, 6th, 7th stories as being, true, pure horror. I always try to add a little wrinkle, a little level of something else in there. And I try to take characters that you're not initially going to be very thrilled about meeting, I don't know if you got the story Heaven, H-E-V-N, but
yes,
the main character is a Norwegian satanic church burner. So not the easiest guy to like right out of the gate, but by the end of the story you kind of come around a little bit to that character for reasons that I won't get into. I don't want to spoil it, but I wanted to relate stories that featured sort of like underdogs, outcasts, losers, misfits, people struggling to find acceptance, and then running them through the mill, of terror and confusion. I really liked. I loved reading all of them, but I really liked coming to these stories with the research in hand. As I mentioned, I was talking about that yellow fever story. I read like a clutch of books from the library, just pulled them right off the shelf and just read through them. And it was just, I love that idea of just finding raw material and then taking the best parts and then plopping them into the story. The part about the guy walking through the ravaged streets of New Orleans, the plague is everywhere, and he puts the orange peel in his mouth as a kind of as a kind of mask, to purify the air.
Yeah,
that was taken right out of a description of that horrible event.
That's great, though. That's the beauty of research.
Oh, I love it. And then the final story in the book is, of course, about the Japanese, Nagasaki survivor, suit actor in Hollywood, working for a B movie production company, starring in third-rate, what you might call giant monster or kaiju movies, struggling to find acceptance as an immigrant here to the States and Hollywood. And that was a ton of research. I mean, I read every issue of G-Fan for like 5 years,
Oh
and
my lord!
just you know the different kinds of suits, the different kinds of productions. I threw it all in there as a way to kind of get into the character. Like I didn't feel comfortable writing specifically about like a Japanese war veterans experience because I don't know anything about it. But I found that
Yeah,
I knew a little bit about Hollywood and Hollywood history, and so that gave me kind of like an access point, an entry point into relating this guy's story. And of course, it's all narrated through his young American mentor, unnamed, who's struggling there to make sense of his older friend's legacy.
right. I can't wait to. I'm halfway through the book, so
Yeah,
I can't wait to get to that.
but I do everything. Like there's a casino communications specialist uh, in in one of these stories who stumbles into a plot to use experimental serums to enlarge the white lions of the lion habitat. Here at MGM Grand, they used to have that white lion habitat.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've been there.
I was always intrigued by those things getting loose on the casino floor because it was right there. It was around
Yeah,
the baccarat tables and whatever. And I thought,
Somebody call Siegfried and Roy.
yeah. And of course that had happened, and just it seemed um, easy to write a story about giant cats of the Pharaoh, terrorizing tourists on the strip. All of them slathered in coconut sunscreen, sunblock, and just feeding them up. So I just wanted to tell a story about that. I mean, I don't know. I just there's a retelling here of the story of Isaac. That kind of I take that story and kind of run it through the grindhouse gauntlet, make it really tough and gruesome. That's one that I would definitely call a horror story.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone compare, like, say, I have the story of Isaac.
Yeah,
And then you mentioned the word grindhouse.
yeah.
That might be a first.
Yeah, a
That's
grindhouse
awesome.
version of the story of Isaac. The world needed it, and it's right here.
You didn't think you needed it, but you do need it. That's awesome. So, where can people find Jarret Keene other than the pages of Writer's Digest and
Yeah,
teaching a class and
yeah.
selling your book?
Well, I've got a cool new website called jarretkeen.net. You can go there and peruse my tomes, my books. I also write children's books. For some reason, they're all about military history.
Hey, kid, you want to know about Korea?
Yes, I wrote one. I wrote a choose your own adventure style. What do you call it? Interactive game book about the Pearl Harbor assaults.
In this version, everybody lives.
I've
Choose
got
wisely.
even weirder. I've got one about Gettysburg coming out in October, just in time for Halloween.
Oh my lord! By the way, Gettysburg. When I was a kid, but my parents would take us there all the time, and
Yeah.
I would just go because I wanted to get a gun. I wanted to get a cool like Union hat or whatever. It's all ghosts.
Mm.
It's like everywhere you go. I remember the pavement was paved with ghost footprints, so you could follow like where all the ghosts. Like, all right, they're figuring out a way because history. I don't think history is the same draw, so they're just trying to pull people in.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was these when I researched these books, even the children's books. I'm just always amazed by how horrifying American history is.
Oh,
American history is just one prolonged horror tale, and but I make it kid friendly.
I got to read these now. Hopefully, my kids, make some grandkids sometime soon, so I can read this to them.
I'm working on a kid's book. It's one of those A is for Apple, E is for Epstein. Still working out the details.
C is for cover up.
I thought you said E was for exorcist, but no, you said something worse.
Yeah, far worse. C is for child trafficking.
F is
It's
for
all good,
files.
kids.
I don't
Oh,
know. It's like as terrifying as all that is. I still think we had it worse.
I feel we did too. I
Yeah,
feel we did too. I grew up in an era where everyone could hit me. My
Yes.
parents hit me. The neighbors could hit me. Strangers in a supermarket could hit me. The teachers could hit me. The priest could hit me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was always looking out for your life. You just want to get to bed alive.
Right. And now nobody hits anyone, and we still have problems. It's weird, but
Oh my god! I need to make a giant hand to
We can't
smack.
hit anybody, and everybody's in therapy.
I know. We didn't need Xanax. We were fine.
Coors Light was ours.
We learned how to drink in the woods.
You gotta suppress. You gotta learn how to suppress that shit.
Exactly. Bury it deep.
Around a fire in the woods,
It's the best way, man.
summoning demons with our Ouija boards. And
Yeah, that's it. Take it out on the Ouija board.
we did crazy things, and I guess to a degree that's what I'm trying to do with Gateways to Annihilation is honor that in my own strange way. All that fun and all that fear that we soaked in.
Yeah, it's a miracle we're still here to tell it.
Yeah, I do feel that way. But that's what I love about this podcast. Is you really dive into it, and in a way that's entertaining but also educational. I learned a lot from that. I was telling you about that Jaws at 50 episode. So
Yeah, I always hope that when we're doing a show that people will go back and look at a movie, pick up a book, watch a TV show that they've never heard of. Like, I just hope that's happening somewhere. Doesn't happen in my house with my kids. I'm hoping somewhere else it does.
well, that's another thing too. I don't know how it was for you, but when I started writing or having a lot of success as a writer, my kids were already like 15, 16, and they were not. The AR. They were behind their They were done with their reading for points game.
Yeah,
they were doing as kids. So I'm frustrated that I'm only now writing children's books when I really wish I had published them when they were young, when my kids were young. But
well,
it's weird how that I was writing other books, but just not children's books.
wait, it's all there for your grandkids.
Yeah, that's
Think
true.
of it that way.
That's true. That's a good point. It's not too late.
No, never too late. By the way, it has been a pleasure to have you on here. We could probably talk to you for hours.
Oh, I would love that. I hope you'll bring me back in a few years when I get another horror book out.
We will bring you back when we find some biblical story that's going through the grindhouse effect, and we're going to break it down.
Only Christian comic I ever saw was those little tracks that were trying to convert you and scare you out of hell.
Yeah, actually, those are scary. No, those are really scary.
Yeah, those are true horror books.
I used to live in Salem, and on Halloween there would be people walking around handing those out.
Yeah. I would find them in weird places like the barbershop or like I don't even know. Like they would pop like a laundromat.
Laundromats, they would always drop that stuff in there.
I'd park my car at the bank and they'd suddenly appear on my windshield. Like those are creepy things. They'd sometimes appear on my car out of nowhere. I think that's what's evil about them.
Where? There's another one. I just threw the other three away.
They're so small and they're full of like torture and demons.
Yeah.
To smoke weed or listen to Led Zeppelin. I mean, that's scary stuff.
It is. Well, we're going to hell. So it's all good. Well, thanks for being on, man. We will definitely have you on again. We won't wait for the next book. We're going to have you on again for something else because you can talk the talk, man.
When you do your Death Spa episode, have me on.
We might need to have that. We might have to have like health club horrors.
Fitness horror. Subgenre.
Oh man, Jack, take it away.
Everybody out there, thanks for joining us, Monster Men. We'll see you next time on
Monster Men. Cue the credits.